Toledo entered Saturday's game against Mississippi State as 10.5-point underdogs. But instead of lying down for the Bulldogs, the Rockets took Mississippi State behind the woodshed and gave them a classic butt whooping in a 41-17 win, leaving everyone screaming MACtion. Since 1990, Toledo has seen 4 coaches go on to take Power 5 jobs, but in the end, they have just continued to win. This is the story of Toledo football. But before we get into this, if you enjoy college football content like this, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Also, let me know who your favorite MAC program is in the comment section below. It is hard to think of a time period where Nick Sabin was not a legendary head coach, but in 1990, Sabin was a 38-year-old head coach, earning his first head coaching job with the Rockets. His players' first impression of the ex-Houston Oilers assistant, with them describing him as a Tony Danza vibe. He got his players' attention when during his first meeting, he screamed about financial aid checks and threatened to kick players off the team. He implemented a tough training program with former tight end Vince Marrow telling ESPN back in 2020, "It reminded me of the Junction Boys. I watched at least 6 or 7 guys quit. They just couldn't take it." Conditioning expanded from 2 to 5 days a week under Sabin, beginning bright and early at 6 a.m. Since the football team didn't have a dedicated space, players had to go to the second level of the basketball gym, where they found trash cans, strategically placed across the floor. Whatever players did the night before, like partying, would lead to their own downfalls, hence the trash cans. One of Sabin's rules was you did not throw up on his floor, you had to find a trash can. He kicked the starting quarterback off from the team from the year before who felt the training regimen was BS. While Sabin saw a handful of fifth-year seniors quit the team got stronger through the program. He also increased the amount of hitting the team did during the contact period. He wanted tough players who would fight to the end. Sabin wasn't scared of anybody. Sabin held everyone to a high standard, including his coaching staff and trainers. Toledo was coming off a 6-5 season in both 1988 and 1989, and they matched that win total in their first 6 games, starting the year off 6-0. They were a well-oiled machine, and the work was paying off. Sabin also looked out for his players as well. He helped players rebuild relationships with their families. They beat Miami of Ohio, Northern Illinois, Ball State, Ohio, Eastern Michigan, and Bowling Green, setting up a key matchup on the road against Central Michigan. Sabin kept the foot on the gas, forcing his players to continue to put in the work. They would lose a heartbreaker to Central Michigan 13-12, but locked up a piece of a share of the MAC title after a 37-9 win over Western Michigan. They would end the season 9-2 with a loss to Navy and a win over Arkansas State. When Bill Belichick was introduced as the Cleveland Browns head coach, Sabin was forced to decide to reunite with his close friend or stay at Toledo. He made the tough decision to join the Cleveland Browns. The players and Sabin were both heartbroken, with the players believing they were building something special. But as time went on, people began to understand it was the right choice for Sabin. Sabin told ESPN back in 2020, "You develop these relationships and you're all working hard to achieve a goal. You appreciate everyone buying into the principle and values of the team. And then all of a sudden, you leave. That's never easy." Had Toledo beaten Central Michigan, they would have been playing in a bowl game, and that loss still sticks with Sabin to this day. Sabin's relationship with Belichick grew into perhaps the most meaningful relationship of his career. After a few seasons with the Browns, Sabin was a hot commodity. Accepted the Michigan State job, but said if he waited a little longer, he would have had the opportunity to be a head coach in the NFL. Before he left Toledo, though, he called his former Kent State teammate Gary Pinkle, who was Don James's offensive coordinator at Washington, and told him, "Gary, you keep my coaches here for at least 1 year, then I'll do everything I can to help you get this job." Pinkle agreed and became Toledo's next head coach. Sabin's lone season at Toledo helped build the Rockets program into a dominant program in the MAC. Gary Pinkle would go on to become the winningest head coach in Toledo football history and spent 10 seasons with the program. Pinkle grew up in Akron, Ohio, and played with Sabin at Kent State, or becoming a grad assistant there. He then spent time at Washington and Bowling Green as a tight end and wide receivers coach, or becoming the Huskies offense coordinator in 1984, a role he held until 1990. Pinkle would leave Washington the year before they won the national title to take the Toledo head coaching job, and things started off a little rough with a 5-5-1 record before an 8-3 record in 1992. 1993 saw the team take a step back, but it was also a building block towards 1995. They started the season off 5-0 before a 28-28 tie with Miami of Ohio on the road, but finished the year on a 6-game win streak to go 11-0-1, beating Nevada in the Las Vegas Bowl in the college football's first ever overtime game. They were one of the only 3 teams in the nation to finish a regular season undefeated, finished ranked in the top 25, and won their first bowl game since 1981. They scored 411 points, averaging 34.25 points per game, allowed 264 points per game, which was 22 points per game average. It would be Pinkle's only conference title team in his career, but they would make the conference title game in 1997, 1998, and 2000. During the 2000 season, Toledo would go on the road and beat a Joe Paterno-led Penn State squad 24-6 en route to a 10-1 record. The Las Vegas Bowl would be the school's only bowl game under Pinkle, and Pinkle finished with a record of 73, 37-3, taking the Missouri job following the 2000 season. Defensive coordinator Tom Anstutz would take over for Pinkle and had played offensive guard for the Rockets back in the day. He had spent 21 seasons coaching in the MAC and returned to the Toledo in 1995 as the defensive coordinator. In 2000, his defense allowed 11 points per game, and he helped bring in over 20 all-conference players into Toledo while serving as an assistant coach, including Chester Taylor. He would earn the nickname Toledo Tom, continued the success Pinkle had in his first season, leading Toledo to a conference title, winning the Motor City Bowl, a top 25 ranking in the final AP poll, and a 10-2 record in his first season as head coach. Rockets made it back to the MAC title game and a bowl game in 2002, but they would lose both to finish the year 9-5. Toledo would win the MAC again in 2004 and lost in the Motor City Bowl to finish the year 9-4, made it back to the title game in 2005, but lost the game but won the GMAC Bowl. After back-to-back 5-7 seasons in 2006 and 2007, and a 2-6 start in 2008, which saw Toledo beat Michigan, Toledo Tom would announce that he would be resigning as head coach. When he announced his resignation, Toledo ranked 84th in rushing, 79th in passing, and 99th in defense. During his press conference, Toledo Tom said, "I'm proud of the body of work I've had." The Rockets would finish year 3-9, and Amstutz would finish his coaching career with a 58-41 record. Tim Beckman would be hired to replace Amstutz, becoming the first coach not having any ties to the university, as Pinkle was a recommendation by Sabin. Beckman was the defensive coordinator for Oklahoma State at the time, helping them go 16-10 in 2 seasons there. The team would improve to 5-7 in his first season as head coach, but improve every year under him. The Rockets would go 8-5 and 7-1 in the MAC in 2010, making it back to their first bowl game since 2005. It would go 9-4 in 2011, winning the Military Bowl 42-41 over Air Force. But before the bowl game, Beckman would leave to take the head coaching job at Illinois. Offense coordinator Matt Campbell would coach the team in the bowl game and would replace Beckman as head coach. Campbell had been on the Toledo staff since 2009, became the youngest coach in the FBS at the age of 32 when he was named head coach for Toledo. During his first year as head coach, Toledo would beat Cincinnati en route to a 9-4 record and a loss in the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. In 2013, they would miss their first bowl game since 2009, finishing the year with a 7-5 record before bouncing back with a 9-4 record in 2014 that saw them make the GoDaddy Bowl, where they beat Arkansas State 63-44. During the 2014 season, Toledo would lose a close game to Iowa State 37-30, and he told ESPN, "After we played the Cyclones in Ames, I called my wife and said, 'You simply would not believe this place. Their fans, the game day environment, and facilities are all incredible. I could see us living in Ames and me coaching the Cyclones someday.'" 2015 would see Toledo travel to Little Rock, Arkansas to take on the number 18 ranked Arkansas Razorbacks, a game they would win 16-12, giving the Rockets their first ever win over an SEC team in school history. They would find themselves ranked number 19 in the AP poll during the season and followed the Arkansas win with a win over Iowa State at home 30-23. It would start the season 7-0 before losing to Northern Illinois in a heartbreaker 32-27 and finish the regular season with a 9-2 record. For their bowl game against Temple, it was announced that Campbell would be leaving Toledo to take the Iowa State job, right before his 36th birthday, which made him the youngest head coach at the Power 5 level. Toledo tried to keep Campbell with the Rockets program with athletic director Mike O'Brien saying they would make him the highest paid coach in the MAC. At the time, Western Michigan's PJ Fleck was the highest paid coach in the MAC at $800,000 a year, and Campbell agreed to a $2 million contract at Iowa State. Their loss to Western Michigan in the regular season finale cost them the division, which went to NIU. Campbell was a tough coach to watch leave for Toledo as he finished with the 35-15 record, but led to the promotion of the man who could end up being the greatest coach in Toledo football history. Jason Kandall was promoted from assistant head coach and offense coordinator to head coach following the departure of Campbell. Kandall almost left to be an assistant at Iowa State under Campbell, but changed his mind last minute. Kandall grew up in Salem, Ohio, and played wide receiver at Mount Union, where he also started his coaching career. After serving on the Mount Union staff from 2003 to 2008, he would join the Toledo staff in 2009, rising up the ranks. Kandall would coach Toledo to a bowl win in the Boca Raton Bowl to end the 2015 season 10-2, would continue Toledo's football success. Toledo would go 9-4 and lose the Camellia Bowl in 2016, won the MAC in 2017 with an 11-3 record, beating Akron 45-28 in the MAC championship game, lost 34-0 to App State in the Dollar General Bowl. It was the first time winning the MAC West Division outright since 1998, and their first MAC title in 13 years. Their other 2 losses during the season were to number 14 Miami and Ohio on the road. In 2018, they made it to their 5th straight bowl game, losing to FIU in the Bahama Bowl 35-32 to finish the year 7-6. With missing a bowl game in 2019 and 2020, going a combined 10-8 in those 2 seasons, returned to a bowl game in 2021, losing the Bahamas Bowl and finishing the year 7-6 once again. In 2022, Toledo finished the regular season 7-5, going 5-3 in conference play, which was good enough to earn the MAC West Division bid to the MAC Championship game, where they beat Ohio 17-7 to win their 2nd conference title under Kandall. It would also snap their 4-game bowl losing streak, beating Liberty 21-19 in the Boca Raton Bowl, their first bowl win since 2015, to end the year 9-5. Last year looked like a dream season for Toledo as they would run through the MAC, going undefeated in conference play, and it looked like they were going to win their 3rd conference title under Kandall. Instead, they would be upset by Miami of Ohio in the championship game and lost the Arizona Bowl 16-15 to Wyoming to end the year 11-3. Their only other loss was to Illinois in the season opener 30-28, a game they should have won. Heading into the 2024 season, according to Phil Steele, they were projected to finish tied for 1st in the conference, although they were replacing DeQuan Finn, who transferred to Baylor. They were also replacing Penny Boone, who transferred to UCF, and 7 starters on the defense. Yet that had not slowed them down at all. Tucker Gleason, who started in the Arizona Bowl for Toledo, has been impressive so far this season, already throwing for 662 yards and 9 touchdowns with no interceptions. Toledo is averaging 42.7 points per game this season and only has allowed 16.7 points per game through 3 games this year. The biggest surprise this season so far was their dismantling of Mississippi State on the road this past weekend, 41-17, which should have been even more according to my good friend Cole Adams. Toledo came into the game as a 10.5-point underdog. It was a beating behind the woodshed, which was unexpected to say the least. After the game, Kandall told the press, "These are the types of schools that recruit our players right off our roster. It's a message that you could succeed here." It was Kandall's first win over a Power 5 school after almost stunning number 8 Notre Dame in 2021 and Illinois last year. It was a statement that although this was originally thought to be a transition year for the Rockets, they may end up being the real deal this year and could be fighting for a Group of 5 playoff bid. Gleason completed 23 of his 28 passes for 285 yards and 3 touchdowns. Toledo piled up 454 total yards, including 305 in the opening 28-3 halftime score. The defense didn't even allow a first down through the first quarter. It was Toledo's largest Power 5 win since beating Minnesota 38-7 in 2001. Toledo plays Western Kentucky this week at 7 p.m. on Saturday, but look to stay undefeated. Kandall is 68-35 at Toledo and just needs 5 more wins to tie Pinkle for the most wins in school history, and could tie the 73 mark in a handful of less games. What do you think? Is Toledo the real deal? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out one of my other videos YouTube thinks you will love right here. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, remember to embrace the grind.